I'm Zach with Layer, and in this video we're going to walk through the new relationship field in Layer and what it can do. I have this example project opened, and I'm going to start by creating a new field. So you can see down here under relationships, we have a new field called relationship. So I can click that button to create one. And we're just going to go through some of the details here of this field. Relationships are broken down into kind of three types. We have manual relationships, automatic relationships, and spatial relationships. Manual relationships are where we want to be able to select items from another category and relate them to this item manually. For example, in my list of products, if for every product I wanted to select a vendor or a manufacturer for that product from my company directory, I could create a manual relationship. So you can see here, we can call this vendor. And now we have some options to choose from down here. So we can, by default, users can create new items in this related category. So in this example, they would be able to create new vendors in the company directory, unless I check this off. So I'll leave that on because I want them to be able to create new vendors. And then you can also disable the navigation to those related items by clicking on the table rows themselves. By default, this is turned off. We're going to leave it off here. And then below that, you can choose the selection mode. So do you want to only allow them to select one record or multiple? So in this case, we're selecting a vendor for each product. So in this case, I just want them to be able to select one. And we can also choose if we want to track quantities for this item. So in this case, since we're just selecting a vendor, we don't want to track quantities of these items. And then below here, the last options allow me to choose what properties from this related element I want to show in the field, which this will be relevant here in a second. So for example, let's say for each of the vendors, I want to show the email of the contact and the phone number of the contact in the table display. And then I want to do the same thing for the element select popover. So when I create this field, when I jump into a product and scroll down here, you can see that I now can link an existing vendor or create a new vendor in my company directory. I'm going to link this conference table to a specific vendor by clicking on link. And you can see that when I open up this element selection pane, the fields or properties of these companies that are shown are the email and phone number. This is what we customized in the field settings for the relationship. So I can select, for example, null. And you can see that now it's going to show in kind of this table view in this item where we have the name of the vendor, the email, and the phone. Let's say, though, I wanted to also show the website in this relationship. You can edit the fields that show up in this table by clicking on this Edit Visible Fields button. So when I click on this, I can say, show me the website. And now you can see the website is shown as well for each of these vendors. Once the field is configured, as you go down the list, this field is going to show up the same way in every item. So here, if I select that vendor, you can see that it's going to show me the email, phone, and website of this item. And if I click on this, it will link me directly to that company directory record where I can edit any of that information. Okay, so that covers how we would work with manual relationships for these items. Let's talk now about automatic relationships. So if you are an existing Layer user, you're already probably familiar with automatic relationships. You're just familiar with doing them in what we called auto lookups. So what we did is we decided to unify all of the relationship functionality into this one field for relationships, rather than having it spread across a related elements field and a lookup field. So in relationships, we talked about manual already, but you can also set up automatic relationships that automatically link items from another category to this item automatically. So an example of this is in each one of these products, let's say I wanted to quantify how many of these products actually exist inside of my Revit furniture category. So we're going to call this model furniture, and we'll choose the automatic relationship type here. So now I need to select a category that I want to match from, and I'm going to select, I can select any category here, but I'm going to select my furniture category. And now we just need to define the criteria that we want to use for the match. So in this case, I can grab a parameter, which I'm just going to grab the mark parameter. And we'll say where the mark is equal to, and I think I have a tag. Yep, here we go. I have a item tag field. So now in each one of these products, it's going to search the model for items whose mark matches the item tag listed in the product. And then as I scroll down, this is where I can add additional details as well. So maybe like I want to show the name of the Revit instance, but let's say I also want to show like, I don't know, the level it's on and the room it's in. We can show those values as well. So when I create this field, now you'll see that if I scroll down to my model furniture, I now have the actual instances, the Revit instances that I can see in this table. I can also see the level that each one of these is on and the room they're inside of. Okay, so, and these relationships happen automatically, so I can't like link new ones to this or create new ones in this category. The relationship is matching them up automatically, and that's it. So if I jump to other elements, you can see that those same rules are being applied to those items. So I set up that one rule, and now they're all being matched automatically. Now, inside of this, there are a few things to understand. In these automatic relationships, you can view the relationship details by clicking on this button here. This will give you a preview of the matching criteria of what's happening. So in this case, we're looking up the mark parameter, and that is equal to the item tag field. You can also edit the visible fields here. So we can do just like we did with the manual relationships. I can show other values as well. Like let's show the phases created in. And you can see it will show up in this table as well. You can edit any of these details by clicking on edit field. And now we have these relationships set up, so it's going to pull all of those in. Now, that covers the automatic relationships and how they work. Moving on to the last one, the spatial relationships field. Spatial relationships are only functional inside of Revit categories, and that's because we're actually calculating spatially what elements are related to things like rooms, areas, spaces, etc. So let's actually go to a model category for my rooms, and I'm going to open up one of these rooms here. So let's grab instruction 117. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a relationship, a spatial relationship field that shows me all of the furniture inside of these rooms. So I'll grab a new relationship, and we'll call this related furniture. And you can see that the relationship types, I can select spatial. And then all I need to do is select which model category I'm matching from. So this will pull in any model categories that have spatial relationships in this rooms category. So in this case, I'm going to grab furniture. And again, we can actually set additional filter criteria. We can actually set additional filter criteria here, and we can choose which fields we want to show in this item. So let's show the level it's on and maybe the phase it was created in. And we'll create that field. So now in every room, I'm going to have a spatial relationships field that shows me any of the related furniture here. So you can see that it's telling me that in instruction 108, I have 48 pieces of furniture, and here's a list of all of those pieces of furniture. Okay, now we'll talk about one more example here of manual relationships, and that's showing us how we can actually track quantities in these relationships. So I'm going to go to my category called room types, and basically this is just a list of individual room types where I want to specify the specific equipment or furnishings that belong in each one of these rooms and how many of each item belong in the room. So let's go to my classroom, for example, in my room types. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new relationship field. And I'm going to do that by clicking on edit fields here, and we're going to create a new field, and we're going to create a relationship. So we're going to call this equipment and furnishings, and we're going to make it a manual relationship. Now I'll select the category that I want to link from, which is my products. And I'm going to set the selection mode to select multiple, and I want to track quantities. This next question here, synchronizing quantities, just means that when we create the bidirectional relationship in the related field, so in this case, in room types, I have a manual relationship field that's linking to products, but products will also have a relationship field that links back to room types. So it goes in both directions. All this is saying is you can optionally sync the quantities that you set back to that other field, which we'll see that here in a second. So I'm going to choose sync item quantities, and then we'll choose a few fields that we want to show in the detail pane, like the image, maybe, and let's say the unit cost. We can do the same thing for the element selection, and then we'll create this field. Okay, so now in each room type, I can select the equipment and furnishings that belong in each one of these rooms. So in my classroom, I'm going to click link products, and this is where I can choose specifically what products belong in this room. So let's say like I need a teaching table, I need training tables, I need, let's say, a chair and a lounge chair or something like that. So you can see all these products are now linked here. And this is where I can then set the quantities by clicking on this button to the right-hand side. So right now by default, there's one of them, but let's say I need 10 training tables in each classroom. And I'm going to have 2 chairs per training table. So let's do 20 chairs, and then we'll have a lounge chair. And in this case, I'm going to throw one more chair in there for the teaching table. So this now shows me which items are related to this classroom, but also I have the actual set quantities for these items. So if I click on any one of these, like this armless lounge chair, for example, you can see that if I scroll to the bottom, there's a new relationship field created here that's tied back to room types. And it tells me that, okay, in classroom, there are 21 of these. So that represents that bidirectional relationship between the categories where the relationship is created. This I can modify and say, well, actually, I need 23 of them in the classroom. And if I go back to the classroom now, that quantity is going to be reflected in that relationship field. Those changes happen bidirectionally. Okay, so big things to understand about relationships in Layer and the new relationships field is that we're really unifying everything that has to do with relating items from one category to items from another category. We're unifying all of that under the relationships field. So whether it's manual relationships, automatic relationships based on a criteria, or spatial relationships based on where an item is inside of a model, all of those relationships are housed under that relationships field, and all of the features and functionality are available to any of those relationship types. So we're really unifying and taking what used to be separate fields for auto lookups, related elements, and spatial relationships. We're taking all three of those separate fields and unifying them under the relationships field heading. Once those relationships are created, you can quickly pull out specific fields from those relationships. So for example, in my products, I can go to create a new field, and you can see that all of the relationships that I've created, like the link to my manufacturer or the model furniture or a link to my vendor or the room types, all of those relationships are available here. So I can quickly create lookups to like from those relationships by just clicking on them. So for example, let's say in model furniture, I wanted to grab the level that these are on. All I have to do is click here, and we'll call this model level. And now that field is looking up all of the model levels from those relationships here. So that's a quick way to get to the information from these relationships and start to pull out specific properties or fields. What we're going to talk about next and what we're going to do in the follow-up video is a walk through the new formula field, because this is now how we can look up data from these relationships. And we'll talk about that in this next video here.